The night before our engagement, my wife and her friends threw a pre-wedding party and got drunk. I went to pick her up, but as I stood at the door, I overheard this. "Anna, you're amazing. Even while pregnant, you still found someone to take you on. You've had so many miscarriages already. Just focus on getting married this time and bringing the baby to full term." My mind exploded in that instant. Anna told me when we got together that I was her first. My name is George. I'm 31 years old and work as a programmer at a small internet company, earning $18,000 a month. In this city, $18,000 a month is considered quite high, and most people are envious of my salary. I own a car, a house, and have over $300,000 in savings. Both the car and house were bought outright, no debts. I'd say my life is pretty perfect. This year, I finally filled the last missing piece in my life because I met a very gentle woman. Her features were delicate and balanced, especially her eyes, bright and full of life. She wasn't just beautiful, she treated me incredibly well. Her name is Anna. Although we hadn't known each other for long, our relationship was incredibly sweet. On the 15th of last month, we had a date. We drank a lot, and before I knew it, we were in a hotel room, falling asleep in each other's arms. We woke up the next day, and when I opened my eyes, I saw her with her face pressed against my stomach, smiling at me and saying, "You need to take responsibility for me now. I'm a virgin, you know." I quickly pulled the covers off, staring blankly at the stain on the bed sheet. In that moment, I froze. It was like thunder had struck my heart. I couldn't believe how lucky I was, meeting such an angelic woman and becoming the first man in her life. When I snapped back to reality, I couldn't help but laugh loudly, my eyes burning with desire. I quickly flipped her over, pressing her beneath me, and began kissing her passionately, my hands gently caressing her, ready for our second intimate encounter. I had no memory of what happened the night before. I hadn't felt anything at all, but now, I was determined to feel every moment. Anna worked as a cashier at a bank. She was 3 years younger than me and looked like a carefree young girl, with a personality as innocent and sweet as a child's. She had to be a gift from heaven. I couldn't help but think that more than once. After that day, Anna told me she was planning to cancel the lease on her current apartment to save money and move in with me. Of course, I couldn't have been happier. I looked forward to conquering this woman who was mine both soul and body every night, reveling in the pleasures of being physically close to her. Living together was amazing. Having a woman in the house made everything feel different. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and we started calling each other the kinds of affectionate names married couples use. Ever since Anna moved in, I had been living the happiest days of my life. The house was always spotless, and every evening, no matter how late I worked, she'd wait for me at the dinner table. I was completely immersed in the joy that love had brought me. Like a country boy who had wandered into an amusement park, I found myself lost in the dazzling games around me, forgetting everything else. And after work every day, the thing I most looked forward to was the meals Anna prepared for me. No more fast food. It felt so good. I must be the happiest man in the world. The sound of keyboards clicking and clattering filled the office. Most people were still sitting at their desks, seemingly busy, but if you took a closer look, you'd realize many were actually slacking off. Why, an hour past quitting time, do some people stay at their desks pretending to work rather than leave? Because the boss hasn't left yet. If he's not leaving, who dares to leave? It was already 7 o'clock. I glanced at the time, then checked the photo Anna had sent me of the meal she'd prepared, along with a message saying she was waiting for me to come home for dinner. After a brief hesitation, I decided it was time to leave. So, I wrapped up my work for the day, packed up my things casually, and quietly slipped away from my desk. It's normal for programmers to work late, and before Anna and I moved in together, I often worked until 10 at night. I used to be terrified of the looming midlife crisis at 35, afraid of being optimized out of a job and turned into just another person discarded by society. So, I always thought I should make as much money as I could while I was young. But now, with Anna, my hunger for money has eased. I'm not as scared of midlife anymore because she told me that if I ever lost my job, she'd take care of me. Even if we had no money, she'd still want to live through tough times with me. I was so touched I almost cried. No woman had ever said that to me before. She was willing to go through hardships with me. So now, I found myself leaning into a more relaxed attitude, sometimes leaving just a bit after the usual working hours, but never staying late like before just to earn a little extra. I headed to the building's underground parking garage, got into my Cadillac, and immediately sent Anna a message saying I was on my way home. I didn't even wait for her reply before starting the drive, eager to get home, even if it was just a second earlier. Halfway, I passed by a flower shop. Through the window, I saw roses in full bloom. It suddenly hit me, I'd never properly given her flowers, let alone a bouquet of roses symbolizing love. I was such a blockhead, not at all romantic. I scolded myself silently, but then felt a rush of warmth because she'd never been upset about that. But just because she didn't get upset didn't mean she didn't care. How could any woman not love flowers? I immediately pulled over, parked, and went inside the flower shop, picking out the freshest and most beautiful roses. Humming happily to myself, I rolled the window down, letting the cool night air blow across my face. It felt so good. I couldn't help but smile. Even the camphor trees by the roadside seemed so charming. All the way home, I wore a smile. The closer I got, the more I anticipated seeing Anna. I glanced at the roses sitting quietly in the passenger seat. I was going to surprise Anna. She'd be so happy, I bet. Maybe she'd even jump up and give me a big hug. Finally, as I drove into the garage of our apartment complex, I'm finally home. I knocked on the door, hands behind my back, hiding the roses. "George, you're home." Anna opened the door, her eyes sparkling with a smile. "Come in, wash your hands, dinner's ready." "Anna, look, what's this?" I raised the roses above my head, grinning proudly. "Wow, roses. I'm so happy, thank you, darling." She took the flowers from me and immediately threw herself into my arms, resting her head against my chest. I held her tightly, savoring the moment with my petite and adorable Anna. She tilted her head back to look at me, then closed her eyes, slightly lifting her chin for a kiss. I responded, understanding exactly what she wanted. We shared a tender, lingering kiss right there at the door. In the bathroom, as I washed my hands, I looked at myself in the mirror, replaying the sweet, warm kiss in my mind. A smile tugged at my lips. "Dinner's ready, George. Hurry up and wash your hands, or the food will get cold." "I'm coming." I quickly finished washing up and went to the table. "George, why did you suddenly buy me flowers today?" she asked, placing a piece of beef on my plate. I looked at the overflowing food on my plate, feeling incredibly happy. I smiled and answered, "No reason, really. I just thought you'd be really happy to get flowers. I want you to be happy, so I bought them." She tilted her head, her eyes sparkling as she gazed at me. Then she leaned in and kissed me again. After the kiss, she looked at my cheek, which was smeared with oil. Blushing, she hurriedly grabbed a tissue to wipe it off, apologizing while scolding herself. I stayed still, smiling as I sat there. For me, whether it was her kisses or the oil on my face, these were all elements of happiness. These were the kinds of tender moments I had never experienced before. After dinner, as I was clearing the dishes, she suddenly stopped me and softly said, "George, wait, come with me. I need to tell you something." "What's going on?" "Just come with me." She led me mysteriously to the bedroom. I followed, unsure of what was happening, wondering why she needed to go to the bedroom to talk. Could it be that she had a surprise for me? "What's going on? Why are you being so shy?" I asked, noticing her hesitation. "You can just tell me." She lowered her head and pulled something from the nightstand drawer, a white stick. What was this? It looked like a pregnancy test. A strange, indescribable emotion began to spread through me. I held it up and saw the two bold lines clearly visible on the stick, each one undeniable. I stared at her, in shock, my voice trembling with disbelief. This means you're pregnant, right? I'm not seeing things, am I?" She didn't say anything, just nodded. "So, does this mean I'm going to be a father?" I laughed joyfully and lifted her off the ground, spinning her around. After a moment, I realized and gently set her down on the edge of the bed, leaning in to place my ear on her stomach. "Yes," she whispered, "you're going to be a father." "I can't believe it," I said, my heart swelling with joy. "I'm so happy. I've always wanted a child with you. This is the fruit of our love. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." She cupped my head in her hands, her warm lips leaning in to kiss me. I met her kiss eagerly, but just as our lips touched, she pulled away, locking eyes with me. With sincerity, she said, "Let's get married." "Yes." I answered without a second thought. At 31, this was the age when most people would settle down, especially with a woman who had been so gentle with me, who gave me her first time and now carried my child. So, when she proposed marriage, I didn't hesitate for a second, I agreed immediately, seriously and solemnly. For a woman who loved me so much and trusted me so deeply, how could I ever betray her love and trust? Remember, you have to treat me well for the rest of your life. After we get married, you need to add my name to the house deed, and all the savings and your salary should be managed by me. No secrets, no harshness. Can you do that? Of course. My response was as sincere and firm as ever. These things were the least I could do. A girl who gave me her most precious gift, her first time, and now carried my child, of course, I had to provide her with the security she deserved. Lying in bed together, I held her close, my voice soft and happy as I asked, "When did you find out you were pregnant? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I never expected her to be pregnant. Since we'd been living together, we'd either been careful during her safe period or used protection, so this took me by surprise. Could it have happened that time after we got drunk on our date? The thought flashed through my mind, but I didn't dwell on it. I found out this afternoon. I wanted to surprise you, and I was afraid you wouldn't like it. Nonsense, I said, how could I not like you being pregnant? I'm just happy. She smiled brightly, her joy evident as she said, George, I love you. I love you too, Anna. After 10 p.m., we finished our evening routine and lay down in bed, discussing our wedding plans. Anna, how about we get married on the 7th of next month? That day was Sunday, and then on Monday, we can take a day off to register our marriage. I gently stroked her hair as I spoke. Okay, I'll go along with whatever you decide. And we should take a day off tomorrow too, to visit the hospital for a checkup. She hesitated for a moment, then said, I'll go alone. Why? I'll go with you, I said, confused. Well, I'm fine on my own. I'm not that weak in the beginning of pregnancy, and if you take a day off, it might be a bit inconvenient. Didn't you say your supervisor is really strict? Besides, if you take leave, you'll lose your perfect attendance bonus for the month. It's fine for one of us to lose it, so I'll go by myself. It's okay. Why are you being so persistent? She suddenly raised her voice, sounding a little impatient, then, as if coaxing a child, said, just be good, go to work tomorrow. I'm fine. Well, okay, but take extra care of yourself. The end of the month came in the blink of an eye. These past few days had been a whirlwind, what with planning the wedding, notifying family and friends, choosing the wedding dress, just a lot of chaotic little things to take care of. And most of it, I was handling on my own. She was like an accessory, following me around, and whenever I tried to ask for her opinion, she'd reply with something like, I trust you, I'll go with whatever you decide. At least, the major things were already settled, and all that was left were a few minor details that didn't really require too much attention. Since Anna got pregnant, she refused to do household chores or cook, but I could understand, she's carrying our baby, after all, and shouldn't be overworked. I checked my phone and saw a message from her, George, I'm hosting a party at Becky's house tonight to celebrate my wedding. I'll message you when it's time to pick me up. I replied, no drinking, okay? Got it. Geez, you're so annoying. Reading her message, I couldn't help but smile bitterly. I couldn't even remember exactly when things had changed, but ever since she told me about the pregnancy, she had become less cute. She started complaining about how annoying I was, and when we spoke, she wasn't as affectionate as she used to be. She'd get angry so easily, and if I made even a small mistake, she'd start lecturing me for ages. Every time, I'd have to apologize, and if I didn't, she'd just keep going until I gave in. The change was so drastic and quick, I couldn't understand it at all. Out of sheer confusion, I even Googled, why do wives get irritated during pregnancy? It's called pregnancy irritability syndrome in medical terms. Apparently, it has something to do with hormone levels changing. Anxiety, anger, and irritability were all considered normal. Although I didn't quite get it, I decided I would just have to be more understanding. After all, she's pregnant, and it's only right for me to be more patient with her. As I thought about the baby growing inside her, I couldn't help but smile. I wondered whether it would be a boy or a girl. If it's a girl, I'd call her Alice. A girl would definitely be as cute and beautiful as Anna, tall too. I'd have to learn how to braid her hair though. What if she didn't like me doing it wrong? But a boy would be great too, strong, lively. We could go fishing together. And when he grows up, I'd buy him some toys, or maybe sign him up for an interest class. As I typed away on my computer, coding and daydreaming about the baby, a happy smile spread across my face. I checked my phone, but there was still no message from Anna about when I should pick her up. It was already almost 9 o'clock. Feeling uneasy, I decided to go and check on her. I'd been to Becky's place once before, so I had the address saved in my navigation app. 802, it should be here, right? I looked up at the door number, ready to knock. Just as my hand reached out, I suddenly heard a familiar voice coming from inside. It sounded like Becky. "Anna, you really are something. You managed to get someone to marry you, even when you're pregnant. After all the miscarriages you've had, this time, just focus on the wedding and having the baby." My mind exploded in that instant. What's going on? Wasn't this her first time? I clearly saw the blood on the sheets that day. Was that fake? How could it be? No, it can't be. My thoughts spun out of control as I questioned everything. Then I heard Anna's voice, dripping with smugness and sarcasm. "Of course, don't forget who I am. A few days after we met, I took advantage of the situation, got him drunk, took him to a hotel, and used the blood I'd prepared in advance to fool him into thinking it was my first time. You have no idea how easily that fool was tricked. Come on, Anna, share your experience with us. Once we're done having fun, we can find ourselves a nice, obedient guy to marry. Yeah, teach us, please. Anna, tell us how you got that fool to fall for you." After some teasing, I heard Anna speak again, her voice oozing pride. "At first, you have to be really caring. Be as sweet as you can, let him feel loved, act cute, and be a little spoiled. A guy like him, a programmer, can't resist that. You have to be gentle and virtuous at first, don't ask for too much material stuff." She paused, then continued, "Then, once you're pregnant, throw tantrums and act unreasonable. Gradually ditch the housework and get him used to me being lazy and difficult. After the wedding, get your name on his property title, take control of his salary and savings. That way, even if he doesn't want to, he won't be able to do anything. Or when the kid is 1 or 2 years old, divorce him, get custody of the child." "Hey, Anna, but whose child is it, really? Don't even get me started on that." "Anna." I stood frozen outside the door, fury burning inside me. My breath came in ragged gasps as my heart pounded in anger. "You filthy woman. Anna, you vile woman." I was in agony, my body on fire with rage, my heart filled with indescribable bitterness. My left foot moved forward uncontrollably. I stumbled forward in fury, then collapsed against the wall, my body suddenly weak, slowly sliding down to sit on the floor. I was alone, betrayed by the love I had so naively given. A wave of despair and disappointment washed over me. Though tears didn't fall, they burned inside me, silently dripping in pain. Yet, in the midst of this hopelessness, a new seed began to sprout, a seed of hatred so deep for this woman, a need for revenge so consuming that I didn't know where to start yet. Humiliation burned across my face. My hands trembled as though they were ready to lash out at that despicable woman at any moment. An aimless, wild impulse drove me through the streets, like a ghost, with my legs fatigued, as heavy as lead. Yet some manic force pushed me forward, making my body move despite the exhaustion. Suddenly, I found myself at an intersection. The road was busy, cars speeding by, the black wind they created howling past my ears. The streetlights gave off a faint glow, and the gaps between them seemed to hold an endless, consuming darkness. A chill ran through my body. There was no one around. No one could stop me. It would be so easy, just one more step, and I could lie down in front of the cars. After a moment of pain, or perhaps a few more minutes of struggling, I could leave this world. Death, and then eternal peace. I wouldn't have to struggle in this ugly pain anymore. I wouldn't have to. But then, another thought surged in my mind. If I died, she wouldn't even understand why. She wouldn't shed a single tear for me. In fact, at my funeral, she'd probably smirk, her eyes filled with mockery, secretly despising me, this pitiful coward. And then, pretending to be my wife, she'd fight with my parents for my inheritance. Maybe my kind parents would give her half. No, this can't happen. Revenge. I need revenge. I want her to feel what it's like to be played for a fool. I stood on the side of the road, my head lowered, letting out a low, malicious laugh, like a ghost completely gone mad. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I picked it up, and it was a message from her, telling me to come pick her up. Bitch. A sneer curled up on my lips. I looked at the familiar flow of traffic in front of me, the streetlights casting their usual warm yellow glow, the scene that used to feel so familiar now feeling so alien. I stood at the door again, 802. This time, I didn't hesitate. I lightly knocked. Inside, everything seemed like a cheerful gathering, with everyone laughing and chatting. They greeted me warmly, but it all felt so ironic. I didn't respond much, just took Anna with a blank expression, my face void of joy or sorrow. She hooked her arm through mine, simply saying, "Let's go," and walked ahead. I took a deep breath, watching her walk away, and slowly followed. Driving through the city, it was almost 11 o'clock now, the night had grown deep. The darkness was like a black curtain, enveloping the world. The hustle and bustle of the day had hidden away in the city's cracks, leaving an air of cold and silence. I parked the car on a quiet, empty street. "What are you doing? Why'd you bring the car here?" "I still need to go home and shower." "I'm tired from the whole day," Anna asked, irritated, from the passenger seat. I didn't answer her question, just coldly replied, "Take some time off before the wedding. I'll buy you a house, and we'll put your name on it." "Really? I love you so much." Anna's eyes lit up with joy. "Yeah, really. As a man, I have to give you enough security." "You're so good to me, darling," she said, then puffed out her lips, pretending to be a little girl. The next day, I left at the usual time for work. At the door, Anna gave me a hug and waved, saying, "Come back early today, I'll make your favorite dishes." She was cooking again, just like when we first met, sweet and gentle. It suddenly hit me, she had never changed. She never truly loved me. Perhaps it was the magic of me offering to buy her a house that had triggered this sudden return to her old self. After leaving home, I didn't go to the office. Instead, I parked the car halfway and started searching on my phone for problematic properties in the city, ones that were either in trouble or already facing issues. After some searching, I found a development project that had recently been exposed. The developer had run off with the money, and only a few elderly workers were left at the construction site, pretending to work. The whistleblower also mentioned that the sales office was still selling pre-sale apartments, despite the developer's disappearance. The whistleblower advised people to avoid buying there. Perfect. This is exactly what I needed. "Anna, you filthy woman, I'm going to make you pay." I thought about buying a pre-sale property, letting it sit unfinished, and imagining her suffering when she realized what had happened. I couldn't help but smile at the thought. To be sure, I went to the construction site and the sales office to confirm the details, and as expected, everything was exactly as the whistleblower had said. I gritted my teeth in satisfaction. I had never been so thankful to a developer for leaving a project unfinished. After handling that, I went to the hospital and found a chief physician. "Doctor, I'm bringing my wife in for an exam the day after tomorrow. Could you secretly do a non-invasive paternity test for me? Just make sure she doesn't find out," I asked. The doctor hesitated. "Please, doctor. I really need your help. We're getting married in a few days, but I'm not sure if the child is mine." I pulled a thick envelope from my bag and handed it to him. The doctor glanced at me and then at the envelope on the table. "Fine," he said reluctantly. "I'll give you the test results directly." He took a folder and placed it carefully over the envelope. A lot of things in this world work like this. When you stop caring about doing the right thing, suddenly everything feels much easier. When I decided to take the most vicious approach to punish Anna, I gave up any moral boundaries I once had as a person. I just wanted her to suffer. I would do anything to make her suffer. "Anna, you really deserve this. I loved you so much. Why did you deceive me?" "Why?" The past few days, I had been taking time off sporadically, which prompted my manager to call me in for a chat. I didn't know how to explain, so I just said that I was busy with wedding preparations and that there was too much going on, which is why I had to take sudden leaves. Perhaps out of respect for my long tenure, my usually tough manager surprisingly expressed understanding and even asked when the wedding would be, offering to send me a gift. Ever since I told Anna I'd buy her a house a couple of days ago, she had become as sweet and affectionate as she was when we first met. After work, I got to enjoy the dinner she cooked again. Today, she was particularly happy because it was the day I'd promised to take her to buy a house, so she woke up early and prepared a lavish breakfast for me while I was still asleep. I drove my Cadillac with Anna in the passenger seat, and she couldn't stop smiling the entire way, as if we were back to a month ago. But I knew deep down, everything was just a facade. If Anna ever went into acting, she might actually make a good actress, I thought bitterly to myself. "George, weren't we going to buy a house? Why are we here at the hospital?" Anna asked, somewhat awkwardly. I casually replied, "Let's do a quick checkup first, see how the baby is doing. We've been pregnant for 2 to 3 months now, and I haven't properly taken you for a checkup yet." Might as well get that done today. At this point, she couldn't really refuse, so she reluctantly agreed. I realized now that the reason she didn't want me to go to the hospital with her at first was that she had something to hide. It was laughable that I had been completely oblivious at the time, not even noticing anything. We spent the entire morning at the hospital, waiting for the results. When the report finally came in, I stared into her eyes and asked, "The report says you're 12 weeks pregnant. But I remember we first slept together only about 2 months ago. So, if I count the time, it should be about 8 or 9 weeks, right?" She smiled nonchalantly, answering, "Maybe the equipment was off during the test, or the baby is just growing faster than others. It's totally normal, don't worry." "Is that so?" I asked, though my mind was elsewhere. 12 weeks of pregnancy meant she had to give birth in just 4 weeks. Of course. "I gave you my first time, so what else could it be?" She lightly kissed me on the cheek, speaking to me like I was a child. "Humph, you don't believe me." I watched her act with feigned innocence, but inside, I felt nothing but disgust. I didn't push any further. I simply nodded in agreement, then excused myself to go to the bathroom, intending to return to the doctor's office alone. In the office, the doctor immediately recognized me. He didn't say a word but silently handed me a paternity test report. I took it, glancing at the bold stamp on it, "No blood relationship." I crumpled the report in my hand and, with a hoarse voice, said to the doctor, "Thank you." Though I had anticipated this result, when it finally came, my heart still ached in a way that words couldn't describe. I splashed cold water on my face in the bathroom, trying to hide the expression on my face. Once I regained composure, I went back out. After leaving the hospital, Anna was still smiling brightly. I couldn't tell if it was because she had managed to deceive me again or because she was excited about the house she was about to get. Or maybe, it was both. I followed the GPS as we drove to the real estate office. The entire lobby was nearly empty, with only 2 or 3 people around, making the place feel quite deserted. When they saw us walk in, they were pleasantly surprised and warmly greeted us. Well, how could they not be surprised? Who would have thought someone would still want to buy property in a project that had already been abandoned? A female sales agent followed us around, enthusiastically pitching the details of the project. Her voice sounded almost like music. She mentioned how there were 2 subway stations nearby, and how the complex had its own kindergarten, reassuring us about our future child's education. She also hyped up how the property would appreciate in value and how buying now was essentially a great investment. As I listened to the sales agent, I couldn't help but laugh coldly to myself. If I didn't already know that the developer had run off and the building was essentially a dead end, I might have been fooled by her sweet talk too. "George, what do you think of this place?" "The lighting's really good," Anna asked. "If you like it, that's all that matters. It's for you anyway. Or maybe we can use it as a wedding house for the kid later on." Let's look around a bit more." We walked around the model units, listening to the sales agent feed her spiel. We must have looked at dozens of floor plans. If the sales agent were telling the truth, this would actually be a very nice development, with great location and appreciation potential. It would have been a good buy. But unfortunately, it was already a dead project. Not wanting to listen to the 2 women's chatter any longer, I told Anna to take her time while I went to sit down and rest. Hours passed quickly, and before I knew it, we'd been at the sales office for over 3 hours. "George, come here for a second," Anna called out to me. "What's up?" "Which one do you think is better, this one or that one?" she asked, pointing to 2 options. One is 80 square meters, priced at $1.02 million, with a down payment of $50,000. If we pay over 15 years, the monthly mortgage would be about $10,000. The other one is 120 square meters, priced at $1.28 million with a $100,000 down payment. For this one, the monthly mortgage would also be around $10,000, but we'd have to pay for a few more years. She stared at me, seemingly trying to gauge my thoughts from my expression. "I think the 120 square meter one is better. The sales agent is right, buying early is like making money. Look at how fast property prices have been rising these years. So, it makes more sense to go for the bigger one. Consider it an investment. You just pay the down payment, and I'll take care of the mortgage each month. So, even if we pay for a few more years, it's not a big deal." The sales agent looked at me with admiration, repeatedly praising my insight. It was clear that Anna was thrilled, and it was obvious that she preferred the larger house. Her earlier question was merely a way to test my stance. After thinking for a moment, she leaned in, resting her head on my chest and giving me a gentle hug, saying, "Actually, I think the bigger one is better. It even comes with a parking spot. But buying this one means more years of mortgage payments. Do you think it'll be too tough on you?" If this had been before, I would have thought this was genuine concern for me. But now? All I could do was mock her inwardly for the cleverness of her move to retreat first and then advance. Outwardly, I feigned indifference and replied, "It's no big deal. It's only right to work hard for my wife." "Alright, then let's go for this one," Anna said, nodding happily. But almost immediately, she gave me a pitiful look. "But George, I only have $60,000, and I'm short $40,000 for the down payment." I wasn't falling for it. Frowning, I pretended to think it over, then feigned reluctance. "What should we do? Most of my money is tied up in fixed deposits. I do have a few thousand in my bank account, but I can't leave myself without liquidity. Besides, we still need money for the wedding. Maybe, you could borrow the rest from Becky, and we'll pay her back after the wedding?" "Ah, I see." Anna pouted, looking like she was about to burst into tears. "But..." "Well, then maybe we should just get the smaller one," I suggested, pretending to hesitate. "Or forget it for today, and we'll talk about it later." Seeing her hesitation, I pushed her further, knowing she wouldn't want to miss out on this opportunity to get the bigger house. She'd never settle for the smaller one, and she certainly wouldn't wait until after the wedding to buy, since that would make it joint property. Anna pursed her lips and said, "Fine, I'll go make a call and borrow the money from Becky." As I watched her leave to make the call, I couldn't stop myself from sneering internally. "Go ahead and borrow the money. You think I'll be the one paying the mortgage, don't you? Let's see what happens when the property has problems and you can't repay the loan." It wasn't long before Anna returned, hurriedly handing over the down payment and urging the sales agent to finalize the contract. The whole process moved at lightning speed. Once the deal was done, she was overjoyed. The day finally arrived, 7th, a weekend, the day we were officially getting married. If everything had gone according to plan, we'd finish the wedding today, and tomorrow we'd go to the courthouse to get our marriage certificate. But now? Getting a marriage certificate with Anna? Impossible. I would never marry her officially. After getting her to buy an apartment that would inevitably be left unfinished, I felt incredibly satisfied. But this wasn't enough. My revenge wasn't complete. I wanted more. I wanted her to lose her job too. The entire wedding, I was in an unusually good mood, but not because I was happy about marrying Anna. No, it was because I was one step closer to executing my plan for revenge. The wedding took place at a venue we'd booked in advance around noon, but I was busy well into the afternoon. Since Anna wasn't from here, her family and friends were few, so I was the one doing all the hosting and socializing. By the time we finished cleaning up in the evening, it was already 11 o'clock. Lying in bed, I gently touched Anna's slightly swollen belly and said, in a tone as seductive as a witch tempting Snow White to eat the apple, "Anna, how about you quit your job for a while? Take it easy, focus on the baby, and let's just say I'll take care of everything from now on. Here's my salary card, you're the head of the household now." I handed her the salary card, though, of course, it didn't have a penny in it. She smiled softly. "What about the savings book? There's $500,000 in fixed deposits in my account. It's about to mature in 2 months. How about I transfer it to your account once it's available?" I said, feeling a deep disgust towards Anna as I spoke. The only reason she'd been scheming with me all this time was for my wealth. That sounds more like it. Tomorrow, when we go to get the marriage certificate, we'll stop by the bank so I can quit my job too. Her voice was full of satisfaction and joy. With control over my finances, of course she didn't care about a clerk's job anymore. The next day, I woke up especially early, leaving the house around 5 o'clock. I sent Anna a message. Something urgent came up at the company. My boss cancelled my time off, so we won't be able to get the marriage certificate today. But it's fine, you go ahead and quit your job, and we'll get the certificate later. Sorry, Anna. To keep her calm, I transferred $5,000 to her. By the time Anna woke up, I was already gone. When she saw my message, no matter how angry she got, there was nothing she could do. Besides, I'd sent her the $5,000, so she had to accept it. She would have to follow my plan and go quit her job first. When I got to the office, I didn't actually have the urgent work I had told Anna about. I was there to quit my own job. The reason Anna quit was because I had her completely under my control, with her future tied to my finances. But my reason for quitting was to prepare for the storm that would come once she realized the house she bought was a scam, unfinished, just like the contract. When she realized I wouldn't marry her or help her with the mortgage, she would lose it. She'd come to the company, causing a scene, and that would be the end of my job too. Rather than wait for the inevitable, I decided to quit early and get ahead of the situation. After quitting, I went to a real estate agency and listed the house I was living in. I told the agent I didn't care about the price, as long as it sold within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Just 2 more weeks. Now Anna had bought an unfinished property, lost her job, and within 2 weeks, she'd have to give birth to that child. I sat in the car, lighting up a cigarette I hadn't smoked in a long time, a sense of twisted satisfaction filling me. Just one more step, and my revenge plan would be complete. George, do you even want to marry me? It's been more than 10 days since the wedding, and you still haven't gotten the marriage certificate with me. As soon as I walked in the door, I saw Anna sitting on the sofa, glaring at me with cold eyes and shouting angrily, "Are you planning to just abandon me?" Recently, I'd been pretending to be busy with work, leaving early and coming home late. She had been pestering me about the marriage certificate almost every day, but I kept delaying it, claiming I couldn't leave work because of company matters. Looks like I couldn't delay it any longer. But it was almost time anyway. I counted the days, 2 or 3 more, and she'd be 4 months pregnant. There was no need to keep dragging this out. A couple more days didn't matter. Looking at her furious expression, I couldn't help but feel a bit amused. It seemed like she was really starting to panic. I quickly put on a look of deep apology and began to comfort her. Sorry, honey. It's really my fault. The company has been so busy lately. Tomorrow, I'll ask my boss for leave, and the day after, we'll go get the marriage certificate. If my boss doesn't approve the leave, I'll quit. I don't care about my job, I'll marry you. George, if we don't get the marriage certificate the day after tomorrow, I'll make a scene at your company. Okay, it's my fault. I'll transfer you $2,000, and you can go shopping with your friends tomorrow. Please don't be angry. This isn't something I can't do, I'm just trying to make money to buy milk powder for our child. You know, after this project ends, I'll get a bonus of $50,000. I'm just working hard to support the family. I made sure to sound as sincere as possible while apologizing. After hearing my words, she was still angry, but she was clearly much calmer. She shoved a piece of paper with a series of numbers into my hand and sternly said, "This is the account for the mortgage payment. Transfer $20,000 into it tomorrow, and also prepare $40,000. I'll pay Becky back. You're sleeping on the sofa tonight. Don't even think about coming near me." With a loud slam, she shut the bedroom door and locked it. I glanced at the bedroom door, then at the paper in my hand. I scoffed, tore the paper up, and threw it into the trash. Pay the mortgage? Dream on. I took out my phone and sent a message to the real estate agent, "Let's go with the price you mentioned last time. Have the buyer prepare the money and contract for tomorrow. I need to sell quickly, and we can finalize everything tomorrow." I then booked a moving truck. While Anna was out shopping with her friends tomorrow, I'd move everything out, sell the house, and move to another city. The next morning, after I left the house, I waited in a corner downstairs until Anna left. As soon as she was gone, I called the moving company to start moving my things out. I also called the real estate agent and the buyer to come sign the contract. I stayed in the bedroom, giving instructions to the movers to be careful with certain things and to treat others like junk. I told them to leave all of Anna's stuff in the hallway, claiming that it was all trash and unnecessary. It looked like a messy pile of discarded things. Once the moving was finished, the agent and the buyer arrived late. The transaction went smoothly, the payment was made quickly, and the contract was signed. Finally, I'd completed the last step of my revenge plan on Anna. The agent earned a commission, and the buyer got the house for $150,000 less than the market price, so all 3 of us were happy. I asked if I could stay in the house a little longer, since I was about to leave this place that no longer belonged to me. The buyer understood and agreed to wait until the next day to move in. I stood in the empty room, feeling a deep sense of reluctance and sadness. After all, this was the house I'd worked so hard to buy, and now I was selling it. It was only natural to feel a little sentimental. Suddenly, I heard a familiar shout from outside. "Anna, it looks like all your things are piled up by the door. What's going on? Did someone break into your house?" Then came the sound of a key turning, and Anna and Becky rushed in. "George, what's going on? Why are all my things thrown out in the hallway? Where are the furniture?" Anna demanded, her eyes blazing with fury as she stared at the empty living room. I chuckled, finding immense satisfaction in her enraged expression. I sold the house. The furniture was naturally moved. As for that pile of junk at the door, it's not mine, so I was going to throw it away. What right do you have to sell my house? How dare you? Anna shouted, pointing at me. I want a divorce. I want to divorce you. You're really shameless, aren't you? This was my house. Did you pay even a single cent for it? How is it suddenly yours? I laughed at her pathetic reaction. Divorce? Haven't we even registered our marriage? Technically, we're not even legally married. George. You lied to me. You promised you would love me for life. You said you'd take responsibility for me. You're a liar, a fraud. I couldn't help but laugh in anger. I pulled the paternity test out of my pocket and threw it at Anna. Take a good look. See if I've been lying. You don't even know whose child you're carrying, do you? Anna picked up the paternity test, read, no genetic relation, and glanced at the date of the test. Slowly, it dawned on her. Then she started mocking me, her voice filled with derision. Yes, I lied to you, because you're such a fool. You actually thought I was a virgin, thought I really loved you, thought the baby was yours. Ha! You're an idiot, a fool I played with. Feeling proud now? I said coldly, glaring at her with disdain. Let me tell you something, the off-plan property you bought is a construction site that's already been abandoned. You'll never get that house, and I'm not going to help you with the mortgage. And you've already lost your job. What? What did you say? Realizing that what I said was true, Anna's face went pale. She collapsed onto the floor, her hand trembling as she pointed at me, unable to speak, shivering with shock. George, how can you do this? Becky shouted at me, cradling Anna, who was lying on the floor. Even if Anna wronged you, you shouldn't do this to her. Huh, you think this doesn't concern you? She borrowed $40,000 from you, right? Well, she can't pay it back now. I couldn't care less about arguing with this clueless woman. You. Anna's hand, still raised in a desperate attempt to defend herself, fell to the floor, and she passed out. I walked past them, heading for the door. I turned back one last time, a cruel, mocking smile curling my lips, the taste of sweet revenge filling me. I got in my car and drove down the open road, heading to another city. The sun shone brightly all along the way.